Hey everyone, I'm John Campia. We just got to celebrate the 90th Annual Academy Awards, and the Oscars are my second favorite day of the year, besides Christmas. Overall, it was a very good show, but it's still a show that in general needs some work. While nearly 30 million people tuned in to watch the ceremony last night in the United States alone, it will end up being the fourth year in a row that it sees a decline in the viewer numbers. There are lots of reasons for that, but I'd like to suggest a few ways that the Oscars need to improve to make the show better and draw in more people. Number 1. Shorten the damn show up. Last night's show clocked in at nearly 4 hours long. That's just far too long. It was nearly midnight on the East Coast before the Best Picture was even announced. Getting this show's runtime down is essential, so essential that a couple of the other suggestions on this list go directly towards shortening the show up. Number 2. Focus more on causes than politics. One of the things that the Oscars did really well last night was focus more on issues that most Americans, right or left, can basically agree on. The ideas of fairness, equality, and opportunity are principles that most Americans hold. Yes, there were a couple of quick political shots, but for the most part, the speeches zeroed in on more of those core issues of fairness and equality than anything else. And I think most people, left and right, can get behind those. Number 3. Get rid of the Best Song nominee performances. I have been saying this one for years. The Best Song category is far less important than Best Director, Best Picture, Best Actress, etc., and yet more screen time at the Oscars is given to this category than 3 or 4 other categories combined. It's ridiculous. We don't have all the Best Supporting Actor nominees come up on stage and reenact a 3-minute scene from each of their movies. If they announce the nominees and then present the winner like every other category, they could easily shave 15 minutes off the over-bloated runtime of the Oscars. You should give more time to the more important categories, and with the way the Oscars currently do it, you would think that Best Song was the most important category of them all. After all, it gets more screen time. Number 4. Take all the short categories out of the ceremony. There are many Oscars that get awarded each year that aren't part of the main Oscar ceremony, but rather awarded at a separate event earlier that week. They're still real Oscars, but they just aren't presented at the main show. Categories like Best Short Animated, Best Documentary Short, and Best Live Action Short are all categories that deserve to be Oscar categories, but the reality is almost no one at home watching the ceremony has seen any of these films or would even have any idea how to see these films. Thus, the vast majority of the viewing audience at home gets alienated when these categories are being presented and they tune out. Again, you could save more time from the show by simply moving these categories to a non-televised ceremony like many other categories do it. Number 5. Find more creative ways to recognize and celebrate the more popular films from that year. Look, don't get me wrong, I am not saying hand out awards to popular films just for the sake of awarding popular films. The Oscars are about excellence, and they should recognize the best of the year, not just the biggest moneymakers of the year. However, the Oscars are also about celebrating film, and that means movies that a lot of the public goes out to see and support should have a seat at the Oscar table too. Again, I am not saying give them awards if they don't deserve it, but maybe work in ways that the big blockbusters get some recognition. Perhaps having stars from the biggest films do more presenting. Perhaps have a special segment of the show dedicated to recognizing fan-favorite films. Again, not with an Oscar, just with some recognition. I mean, if we want more people to start watching the Oscars, we've got to find ways to include the films that they actually went out to see into the Oscar show. It just makes sense. I'm not pretending to know how to go about doing that, but they should work on finding ways to make it happen. So there you have it, folks. My 5 ways to improve the Oscars. What are some of your suggestions? Jump down into the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. And listen, while you're here, subscribe to my YouTube channel, click on the thumbs up button, and simply follow me on Twitter at John Campia. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks for joining me, and until my next video, bye-bye.